Hey there everyone, welcome back to a new video. My name is Harmon. Today's video is all about one of the most elaborate bank robberies in American United States history. This is one of those cases that blew my mind when I heard about it. This case transpired in my hometown where I grew up in Monroe, Washington. I'm going to talk about this case in as much details as humanly possible. I'm going to show you the bank where, of course, this happened at and kind of the escape route that this bank robber named Anthony Curcio took. And again, today's a little bit extra special because I'm here with my cousin Gus from Fish and Fly with Gus.
Hi everybody.
And so again, we heard about this story all the time because we both, of course, grew up in this area. Make sure you subscribe and check out Fish and Fly with Gus. That is his channel.
It's a mind-blowing story. This is a fun one. Stick around.
Not gonna want to miss it. So this story starts in Monroe, Washington. This is where the bank robber in this story, Anthony Curcio, this is where he grew up. He attended the local high school here in Monroe, and at the high school is where he met his then girlfriend, Emily. They started dating, and then they ended up deciding to move to Idaho. That way Anthony could pursue his college degree as he was accepted into the University of Idaho. After Anthony started attending the college in Idaho, he actually ended up developing a pretty severe drinking problem. But he ended up tearing his ACL, I believe, during one of his football matches. And so the doctor prescribed him one of the pretty powerful drugs called Vicodin. After Anthony got addicted to Vicodin, he ended up paying $15,000 every single month for his drug habit. And the only way he was able to really afford this crazy spending for his drugs was he essentially became a criminal. He did many different things, including faking prescriptions. So he would go into a pharmacy claiming that, he was someone else and that he had a fake injury, and he would get Vicodin that way. Then he would go to a different pharmacy claiming to be a different person and get Vicodin from that pharmacy. But then he also did things like stealing large amounts of money, setting up fake businesses and things, and that way people would send him money and he would never give them whatever product he was quote unquote selling. So he did lots of different things in order to accumulate enough money to pay for his drug habit. He was leading a double life. Emily had no idea that Anthony was a criminal and doing all these things. At that time, he had one young daughter with Emily. So Anthony planned for 3 months for this bank robbery. He meticulously planned every single little detail he could think of to make sure that it went as smooth as humanly possible. So in that time, he would of course go to the Bank of America here in Monroe. This is the bank that he robbed. He would go there pretty much on a weekly basis to watch the Brinks armored truck that would show up and of course take money and drop off money. So that way he would essentially learn the Brinks schedule and when that truck would arrive at the bank and when it would leave, etc. Another part of his plan was he was going to create a Craigslist ad and make a fictitious job posting where he needed about 15 or 20 workers for like a landscaping type position. He would pay them like $28 an hour or so, and that they all had to dress identical. So he told them to all wear a specific colored hat, specific colored shirt, as well as like a face mask, gloves, and some boots. Now, the other part of his plan was, of course, the escaping aspect. And so during those 3 months, he set up an escape route. And so there's a small creek right nearby the bank. And so he decided that he wanted to attempt to just float down the river after his robbery. And that way he could escape hopefully undetected. So he first decided that he would try a jet ski and try to ride that down this small creek behind the bank. That didn't work though. The jet ski kept getting stuck. He realized that the creek itself was not deep enough for something like a jet ski. So he ended up literally digging out the creek to make it deeper and wider. And he ended up getting a rubber raft, of course, kind of insulated, maybe waterproofed, etc. And then he put his plan into action. So on September 30th, 2008, the day that he chose for this bank robbery, he showed up to the bank. So 15 to 20 of these people showed up, all dressed exactly the same as these, landscape workers or whatever. He noticed that the Brinks armored truck was already outside, and he grabbed his mace and went right up to the armored truck security driver and ended up pepper spraying him in the face. The driver dropped the bags of money that he was about to bring inside the bank, and that is when Anthony grabbed it and took off, stealing $400,000 in a matter of a few minutes. He ran right down to the creek, got on his inflatable raft, got the money, and floated down the river. Now, before the actual bank robbery itself, Anthony ended up stashing like his wig, his face mask, his gloves, and essentially his fake uniform behind a dumpster near the bank. And I think he did that way he could easily take on and off his disguise without anyone really seeing him. However, someone did see him. After he took off his disguise and put it behind the dumpster, a homeless man named Alan Dean ended up actually seeing Anthony stash this uniform. And so the homeless man actually ended up catching Anthony's license plate, the truck. Again, this was before the actual bank robbery itself. The homeless man, Alan, decided to call 911. He reported that he found, a wig and clothing. And so when Anthony ended up actually doing the bank robbery, the police kind of put two and two together and saw that, wait a minute, there's this guy who dropped off or stashed this clothing with this wig. Again, very suspicious, of course. They were able to get some DNA evidence from the face mask that Anthony was wearing. And so they were able to put a sting operation out. That way they kind of followed Anthony around, trying to, of course, gather more evidence to make sure that this was their guy. Now, the truck that Anthony had driven to the bank prior to the bank robbery was actually registered to his wife, Emily. And so when police, of course, pulled up the license plate and found it belonged to someone named Emily Curcio, they have found out that her husband was Anthony Curcio. So after the police and detectives were following Anthony around, they finally followed him to a gas station one day, and they saw him throw out a bottle, and inside that Gatorade bottle was, of course, Anthony's DNA. So they grabbed the bottle, took it back to their lab, and it matched to the face mask that they found several weeks prior of his. With all that evidence, they were able to finally arrest Anthony Curcio. Anthony was found guilty, and he was sentenced to 6 years in prison. This was in 2009 when he was finally sentenced. So he ended up serving about 5.5 years in prison. He got out in 2013. What's interesting and remarkable about this case, again, is the fact that, yes, Anthony committed this pretty bad crime. He turned his life around after he got out. Anthony actually got back with his wife, Emily. He is now an author. He writes different children's books. He does different talks and events. He was actually on TED Talk. He was also on the show 2020 telling his story, and that he was a changed man. Anyway, guys, that pretty much wraps it up. If you're new around here, again, my name is Harmon. I go around the country filming different infamous cases and murders. So if you like that kind of content, make sure you subscribe and click the little bell icon next to it. And until next time, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.